ini the title of my presentation is Principles and Challenges in Settling Disputes on Maritime Boundary Delimitation. The outlines of my presentation start with the introduction, and then I talk about Malaysia New Map 1979, and then I talk about Likitan and Simpanan Islands, Pedra Blanca, Middle Rock, and South Ridge, and the overlapping claim between Singapore, and then the various maritime zone, and then the delimitation process, and I will conclude presentation. Based on the UNCLOS United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea 1982, there is some particular concern that involve the role of hydrographers, which is enclosed in the articles regarding the maritime boundary delimitation. An legal aspect of the Law of the Sea, in short, TELUS working group was created in 1983 to assist and provide guidance in technical aspect in implementing the convention. The issue of maritime boundary has always been raised among coastal states. The assignment to determine the actual position of the maritime boundary has caused misunderstanding between each neighboring countries. This leads to overlapping claims by all these neighboring countries that are based on the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Located in the same enclosed area, Malaysia experiencing the same disputes with neighboring countries, whether opposite or adjacent. The satisfaction is due to the establishment of Malaysia New Map 1979 because of the overlapping claims between Malaysia and the neighboring states. In the case of sovereignty over Pedra Blanca, Middle Rock, and South Ridge between Malaysia and Singapore, and Simpanan Island and Likitan Island between Malaysia and Indonesia, the countries involved decided to refer the claim to the International Court of Justice after all the negotiation process were exhausted. Although the cases were solved, yet the maritime boundary delimitation is still unsettled between the countries. The Malaysia New Map 1971, published in 1979 by the Department of Survey and Mapping Malaysia, is entitled Territorial Waters and Continental Share Boundaries of Malaysia. It displays the territorial waters and continental share boundaries of Malaysia as part of Malaysia. So this is the figure shows the maritime boundaries of Peninsular Malaysia, and this is West Malaysia, which is Sabah and Sarawak. The Malaysia New Map 1979 referred to the 1958 Geneva Convention on the Law of the Sea, Principles, Treaty and Agreement, a memorandum of understanding to delimit the boundaries. Most of the neighboring states, Brunei, Indonesia, Philippines, Singapore and Vietnam, protested with the published Malaysia New Map 1979. They claim that some part are their maritime boundaries and partially become overlapping claim area between Malaysia and the neighboring states. This is the overlapping claim between Malaysia and Indonesia, which is Simpanan Island and Likitan Island. So the figure shows the location of the Likitan Island and the Simpanan Island, which is in the West Malaysia, the Mohd Island. On 17 December 2002, the International Court of Justice announced its decision on the owner of the Simpanan Island and Likitan Island to Malaysia and Sulawesi Sea, in accordance with an agreement concluded by the President of Indonesia and Malaysia Prime Minister in 1996. Whatever decision of the ICJ, both countries were obliged to accept it. Since the decision awarded sovereignty to Malaysia's side, according to the decision, Indonesia had a duty to accept and respect Malaysia's ownership right over both islands. Even though the sovereignty of Simpanan Island and Likitan Island has been declared by the ICJ in the year 2002, yet the maritime boundary of the Sulawesi Sea are still not decided by both countries until today. Still, the limitation of boundaries is not shown. This area is one of the critical disputes between neighboring states. Many conferences and meetings have taken place between Malaysia and Indonesia to carry out the delimitation of the Sulawesi Sea. So this is a series of base points between Malaysia and Indonesia. In the result of the generated equidistant line between Malaysia and Indonesia. Another case study is at the Straits of Johor, which is Pedra Blanca, Middle Rocks and South Ridge. This is overlapping claim between Malaysia and Singapore. So this is where the three location of the Pedra Blanca, Middle Rocks and South Ridge. Okay, this is a photograph of the three location. The big one is the Pedra Blanca, the front one. On 23 May 2008, the International Court of Justice announced its decision on the territorial dispute between Malaysia and Singapore concerning the three marine features of Pedra Branca, Middle Rocks and South Ledge. In this judgment, the ICJ awarded Pedra Branca to Singapore, Middle Rocks to Malaysia, and South Ledge belongs to the state in the territorial waters of which it is located. Even though the sovereignty of Pedra Branca, Middle Rocks and South Ledge has been declared by the ICJ in the year 2008, yet the maritime boundary between Pedra Branca, Middle Rocks and South Ledge are still not decided by both countries. So the figure shows the various maritime zones from baseline to the territorial waters, contiguous zone and also the continental shelf. So Malaysia boundary was determined using different methods to determine it between Malaysia and neighbouring states. Determination of boundary was by agreement and treaty. Such agreement that were agreed by Malaysia shows Malaysia lost some areas and some of the areas still in discussion and being claimed by Malaysia. Malaysia limit boundary agreed by the neighbouring states comprised of the territorial sea. Malaysia have right to establish the breadth of the territorial sea to 12 nautical miles. This limit used including Peninsular Malaysia, Sabah and Sarawak. This is the West Malaysia. Okay. So this is again the figure showing the territorial waters and the continental shelf. This is for the West Malaysia, separated by the South China Sea. The continental shelf, Malaysia claimed 200 nautical miles from baseline except Strait of Malacca. This rate was determined by equal estimated by 3 points, which is outside of the island as base point, and was agreed by Malaysia, Thailand and Indonesia. There were 84 points of continental shelf boundaries of Malaysia defined by geographical coordinates based on technology chart. Okay. So the figure shows the agreement between Thailand, Malaysia and Indonesia. For Peninsular Malaysia, and this is for West Malaysia, Sabah and Sarawak. Okay, the middle is Brunei, separated by Brunei. The Sarawak and then Sabah separated by Brunei. So the third maritime zone is exclusive economic zone. Of the Strait of Malacca was the EZ of the Strait of Malacca was claimed in 12 nautical miles, and the maximum distance claimed is 24 nautical miles, equal the claim of continental shelf. EZ for South China Sea was claimed in minimum distance of 24 nautical miles to maximum distance of 200 nautical miles. Okay. So the figure shows the maritime zone, continental shelf and the EZ. Delimitation of international water boundary were influenced by the historical factor between British government and the neighbourhood states of Malaysia. The agreed limitation come from both states for the area. Referring to the new map 1979, international water boundary equal to continental shelf boundary. It was clear with the continental shelf boundary between Malaysia, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Malaysia, Brunei and Malaysia, Philippines. The treaty of agreed boundary was achieved based on equal distance concept. Okay. The limitation process, the delimitation process are heavily involved with legal matters and political interests. Nevertheless, technical facts such as hydrographic data are indeed highly important. So, in order to this clarification in maritime delimitation process, joint survey. The purpose was to gather data for the delimitation process. A joint survey team composed of an equal number of members from each country normally undertakes the work towards commencing the joint hydrographic survey as soon as possible, as soon as practicable. For example, Malaysia and Singapore signed MOU on joint hydrographic survey to determine the ownership of South Ledge after the determination of the maritime zone between Pedra Branca and Middle Rock. Second, coordinating survey at same parameter. Two states which establish a common try point for their respective maritime boundary. For example, extends the Indonesia-Malaysia continental shelf boundary from point 1 established by the agreement signed on October 27, 1969 to the common point of the 1971 agreement. Third, utilizing latest applications like multi-beam, LiDAR, satellite bathymetry. A baseline is a legal construct of a boundary line that determines where coastal state maritime sovereignty and jurisdiction begins and ends. In fact, baseline determine all areas of maritime jurisdiction. They create a demarcation between areas where a state has no rights and those where a state does enjoy their rights. So a normal baseline, this type of baseline is the predominant type of baseline claimed by mostly coastal states. It's in fact a state's default baseline. So few steps to specify the normal baseline. Okay. The normal baseline is the low water along the coast or in the case of an island also. The seaward low water line of any reef for delimiting the territorial sea. The outermost permanent harbour works which form an integral part of the harbour system are regarded as forming part of the coast. Second, certain appropriate outmost point and marks such as low tide elevation no further than 12 nautical miles from the mainland, low tide elevation upon which installation which are permanently above sea level like a lighthouse that have been built even where the installations are more than 12 nautical miles from the mainland and the mouth of rivers. And the third, the following significant circumstances must be taken into account. Road studs used for shipping and which would otherwise be wholly or partly outside the territorial sea are part of the same. The water elevation without permanent installation beyond the breadth of the territorial sea have no territorial sea of their own. Islands have their own territorial sea. Two types of determination of baseline. That's now normal baseline. The second one now is a straight baseline. So another method from the normal baseline of which the line is formed by following a different type of approach rather than the lowest water mark. This could affect the breadth of territorial sea boundaries. The straight baseline may join across the mouth of the river between points on the low water line of its banks. The closing lines for rivers should either be shown on charts or the coordinate of the ends of the line should be listed. Example, Malaysia and Indonesia first base point determination. The base point was chosen based on lowest astronomical tide or in short LAT by selecting the outermost point of an island or mainland. Indonesia proposes a method of perpendicular to coastal area in determination the first base point of boundaries. From the end point of land boundaries, the delimitation line will be perpendicular to the coastal area. However, to avoid loss of sovereignty, starting point of maritime boundaries must be parallel from the end point of land boundaries. Besides, in establishing the starting point of maritime boundary, it also depends on the evaluation of arbitral jurisprudence approach. Starting baseline was chosen regarding case law. So this is an example of a starting point of maritime boundary. Significance of hydrographic survey. A low tide elevation naturally form area of land which is surrounded by an above water at low tide but submerged at high tide. Where a low tide elevation is situated wholly or partly at a distance not exceeding the breadth of the territorial sea from the mainland or an island, low water line on that elevation may be used as the baseline to measure the breadth of the territorial sea. So lowest astronomical tide adopted as low water data. To date, the number of tidal stations in Malaysia is still small. The number of these stations must be increased and the observation from these figures must then be analysed at the level of LAT determined. It was an advantageous of Malaysia if Malaysia can define the lowest water area or as the elevation of base point and baseline in determining Malaysia water boundaries. Malaysia agreed nation in 80 years to have the new tidal chart. So this example, the difference on the baseline can make on your maritime boundary. Okay. So it's seawards, increase seawards. So methods of maritime boundary delimitation based on TALOS. A maritime boundary can be defined as the line that separates one state maritime zone from another state's maritime zone. The line does not only separate the territory but also the right within that area towards the sovereignty, jurisdiction and the subject of best interest, which is the resources. The reasonable way to mark the boundary is by depicting it on a chart which should be available to the ocean users. Regarding the boundary lines that need to be delimited, there are several methods that can be exercised as enclosed in the TALOS manual. Among the methods is the equidistant method, tollback, which has widely been adopted in practice by several states. There are also other methods such as prolongation of land boundaries, arbitrary lines, and the equidistant method. Through the equidistant method, an equidistant line, which is referred as the middle line in Article 15 of UNCLOS, will be formed. Basically, the line consists of a series of equidistant points that are generated from the previously selected base point. Only seawardmost base point will be considered, and its geographical coordinates should be obtained for future reference. Before applying this method, ensure that the series of base points to be used is simple so that a complete resulting boundary lines can be prevented. So that complex resulting boundary line can be prevented. In this case, a simplified boundary line is favorable, and therefore not all base point will be used in constructing the equidistant line. So this is an example of equidistant method, medial line. This is another equidistant method, but this is called lateral line. So this is suitable for states opposite to each other, this method, and this is suitable for a state between each other. The only difference in the concept for this method between opposite and adjacent state is in terms of technical literacy. In the case of opposite state, the equidistant line generated is defined as medial line, while for adjacent state, the term lateral line is used. So this is an example, equidistant method between adjacent state, example between Malaysia and Philippines, which is in the West Malaysia. Based on the boundary treaty of 1930, the Malaysia-Philippines maritime boundary is delimited only at the northern part of Sabah, given that the area is in dispute due to the different ruler at the moment. The Philippines was then under the United States sovereignty, while the North Borneo, which is made of Sabah in Malaysia, is in hand of British North Borneo Company. When publishing the Malaysian New Map 1970, Malaysia acknowledged the treaty line and adopted it as the maritime boundaries between Malaysia and Philippines. The line is as shown in the next slide. Okay. So this is the area delimited by the treaty between Malaysia and Philippines. That respected line is shown in Malaysian New Map 1979, also includes the territorial water of both states. But considering the close proximity, the territorial water is not as defined in UNCLOS 1982, whereas territorial water should be after nautical miles from the baseline. In such case, the technical aspect which describe the maritime zone can be suited with the geographical location of the respective states. However, Malaysia and Philippines already reached an agreement in this area, and both states should respect the agreement. To conclude this presentation, the causes of maritime boundary dispute, there are two possible causes of maritime boundary dispute. One is the disputed sovereignty over land. Okay, this is an example for the two case study I mentioned earlier, which is between Malaysia and Indonesia, which is the Sipadan and Bintan Island, and another one between Malaysia and Singapore, which is Pedra Branca, Bidor Rock, and South Malaysia. Another is overlapping entitlement to maritime rights and jurisdiction. There can be overlapping claim between adjacent or opposite states for 12 nautical mile territorial seas or 200 miles EEZ and continental shelf, which may extend beyond 200 miles. Given the extension of right to a 200-mile limit, overlaps are now more common than they used to be. To resolve issues of overlapping claim, the relevant rules of international law are those on the delimitation of maritime boundary. These rules can be found in the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, state practice and jurisdiction. Okay, the process of maritime boundary delimitation is indeed not a simple procedure. Though the solution can be technically obtained, it still needs to undergo a series of negotiations between the involving states, since there are many sensitive issues concerned. It is hard to make a decision without considering each other grounds. Moreover, with the existing old treaties and other factors to be considered, negotiation is definitely the best approach for the involving states as an attempt to solve any dispute between them. Along with the negotiation option on how to solve the dispute shall be introduced. The Manual on TALOS is a remarkable effort done by the United Nations in order to provide guidance for the coastal states in delimiting their maritime boundary and solving maritime dispute. The coastal states should make an effort in solving the maritime dispute on their own without involving the third parties such as ICJ, and they need common understanding and talking the same language. The involving states can form a joint party between a neighboring state. The involving state can form a joint party between the neighboring state as to delimit the maritime boundary and negotiate the area of overlapping claim. For instance, there is the joint submission of Malaysia and Vietnam to the Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf to establish the limit of continental shelf between both states. Nonetheless, as pointed by Clark in 1997, it is agreed that in declaring the boundary, the states should provide detailed documentation which consists of technical details as follows: the geographical coordinates of turning points, the nature of the line segment connecting these points, and the geologic data to which boundary is referred. Therefore, following the successful negotiation between the respective states, they provide an agreed method to delimit the boundary, the documentation of established boundary, explaining in detail the technical matters, and develop an expert in technical matters and also in legal actions. Thank you very much.